In this one, I'm going to be doing a bit of Monday afternoon Bitcoin TA. I haven't looked at Bitcoin in a little bit, at least not in a video, so let's start from the top down. And I'm not going to go like monthly time frame top down, but let's just talk about the important thing that happened on the higher time frames. We broke out of this range that we formed prior to taking out all-time high. We actually did take it out, but we didn't really break above it. It was more like an SFP. We started ranging, and we finally broke that range bullishly and got to move up to 100K. And we might as well take a look at Market Cypher while we're at it. So the weekly time frame, we do currently have a red dot on there. This is an unconfirmed one at the moment. This will confirm in a week's time. It's Monday, so we got a while until that actually confirms, but it has printed at this point. And money flow, despite the fact that it is curling over a little bit, starting to get a slight move to the downside, I think overall it looks healthy. We put in another higher high, although it is a slight one. Money flow right now is very thick on the weekly time frame. Like, this is bull market thickness in terms of the money flow. So automatically we can start thinking, all right, what if we start retracing from here? What if we start pulling back? This red dot confirms, money flow continues to retrace a little bit more. Well, would that be like the end of the world? Are we going to top out at 100K at that point? I don't think so. I think we could certainly see things retrace a little bit. Momentum has a long way to go to the downside before we really are in danger of losing this line right here, which is the 60 line. Typically, when momentum gets above that, we start getting into like super bullish territory. And another way I view this line is as long as we're above it, we could print a green dot above the 60 line, and that could end up being a very bullish green dot. We could see momentum get another push to the upside, and a lot can happen in these momentum swings to the upside on the weekly time frame, especially if it comes up significantly to put in a higher high. My point is that we could just see momentum and money flow retrace a little bit before putting in a higher low somewhere. The fact that we don't see any divergences, at least in terms of money flow, I think there is a slight divergence with momentum because price has put in a higher high as momentum is putting in a slight lower high. But money flow putting in a higher high, I think, makes that a not very strong divergence. The way I always look at it is if it's a divergence with only momentum and not money flow, I do not view it as strong of a divergence, and it is very slight to begin with. Now, on the daily time frame, we did see a more clear bearish div with momentum. Momentum put in a much clearer lower high here. Momentum did not even get above the 60 line as we pushed up to 100K on Bybit. This wick right here was the first time we hit 100K on Bybit. We formed a divergence as we did that, but again, it is only with momentum, not money flow. Money flow on the daily time frame still looks incredibly strong, I would say. Still putting in higher highs, money flow is getting very thick. Now, could the bearish div with momentum possibly top a retracing point for money flow? Could we maybe start seeing it retrace a little bit from here? Yeah, definitely. Especially if Bitcoin starts to retrace from 100K. Momentum could come down significantly. Maybe money flow takes some time to cool off. But at this point, I think with the money flow looking as good as it does, I think if it starts retracing, there's a good chance we put in a higher low at some point and try to push back to the upside again. And I also think if momentum starts to retrace, let's say momentum gets moved to the downside, maybe it even comes down to try and put in a trigger wave. This could be a very bullish trigger wave because we haven't seen momentum below the zero line in quite a long time here. So even if this bearish div causes a retracement in price, in momentum, in money flow, I think overall we're still in a bullish environment on the daily time frame, and I would be looking for bullish signs on the lower time frame to try and determine when the momentum is going to start turning around, when the money flow might start turning around. Maybe the momentum bottoms out above the zero line, maybe we actually come down and get a nice looking trigger wave. Or maybe Bitcoin decides to break the current low time frame range that it's in bullishly, and we just see momentum come up, and we just kind of ignore those divergences, which I think is also very possible because money flow is looking so bullish. Alright, I'm not going to waste too much time going over every time frame on Market Cypher. I think that's the gist of it. On some of the midterm time frames, we do see money flow coming out a bit, which also kind of leads me to think that we may see a bit more of a retracement locally here. Now let's get to local price action. I am looking at this as a sideways range. We've started forming the range right here, I would say, with the range high and the range low. We came up, took out the range high, but it was very brief. We immediately fell back within it and immediately came down to SFP, the previous range low. So because we did that, because we didn't really break out and sustain above this previous sideways range, I think the range got extended. So, regardless, we have this range high now and this range low. We took out both previous range points. So, now the range exists between this high and this low. So Bitcoin is still ranging just below 100K. We did peak above it a little bit, but we're currently holding that 100K mark as resistance, I would say. And the way I look at ranges is I look at the range high and the range low as decision points. So if we want to continue past the range, we have to significantly break the range high, and then there's a good chance that we continue higher past it. If we want to come down to some lower supports or some higher time frame areas of support, which I'll go over in a minute, then we have to break the range low. But until we break it significantly, I am looking at trades within this range. So I think it goes without saying that the range low and the range high are areas where, if we come down, we see a brief move below it, an SFP type of thing, we see divergences. That's an area I'm looking too long. And I, could say the same about the high, although I think I'd need to see some better looking confirmations on the high than on the low. I would just, be more sketched out about shorting in this kind of environment, especially shorting the all-time high at that point. But they are two very significant areas where I'd look for trades, and the range low has confluence with these significant anchored VWAPs. These are pulled from this significant low down here, and I am looking at a couple trades within the range as well. We are approaching one scalp idea I had. We didn't quite set my alert off, but we might do it here soon. But I'm looking at the point of control of this range. I pulled the volume from that initial range high over, and I also have another volume profile pulled from that all-time high over, looking at that as kind of a separate range. But the POC of the larger range aligns with the 0.5 fib from the range low to the range high, or not to the range high, but to this internal high right here. And it also has a little wick sitting right above it. We kind of front ran that point with this wick right here. And this is, definitely kind of a sketchier scalp idea. And the reason for that is because everything below us is just a wick. And there is a chance that none of these support areas work because of the fact that we have a wick here. We might just, get a move down just as quickly to come down to the range low. That is always possible, but, if there are good enough lower time frame confirmations in this area, or around the golden pocket value area low, I will consider them. And I also have this short idea up, looking for an SFP of this high over here into this NDPOC. And those are currently all the trades I'm looking for within the range. Outside of the range, I do have a few areas of interest, so I'll go over my higher time frame supports now. So first we left behind some NDPOCs. One is at 81,900 roughly, and the other one is 79,670 roughly. And that does have confluence with a golden pocket pull from this low at 66,700 up to the all-time high. It's kind of a weird looking fib pull because we did get this retracement previous, so it's not like exactly the last higher low, but it's kind of the one before the last one. But whatever, I'll still look at it. And, despite the confluence, this area does sketch me out a little bit. I think I'm going to treat this area as a scalp zone, meaning any trades I take, I'm going to look probably for lower time frame entries, tighter stop losses. I'm going to basically be looking for reactions from these zones and trades that I can de-risk quick, because I do think there's a chance we end up making lower highs and continuing lower. And the reason for that is, number one, we have a CME gap that is only partially filled. That fills a 77,370, and this area is kind of in the middle of a very aggressive move to the upside. I think a better, higher time frame support zone would be retesting the previous range that we just broke out of. We had a lot of resistance in this zone. Look at all the times that we found resistance and rejected around this general area, and then we broke out of it and got to move aggressively to the upside. We have not retested it yet. And I think this general zone, I wouldn't just look at, necessarily retesting the exact high, looking for a exact support resistance flip. But, I would like to see us retest this previous range, maybe get a little dip into the range, possibly down to this golden pocket from that previous range low up to all-time high. I think this area around 70K looks like a good higher time frame support zone. And you can also maybe do a bit more refining by looking at the volume of this previous range. And what do you know? The value area high and point of control are, basically the golden pocket. that is some very nice confluence. So I would say this right here is my most significant high time frame support zone, and we may never get a retrace down to there, at least not anytime soon. We could just simply break this lower time frame range that we're in bullishly, get above 100k, get a bullish retest, continue up from there, and never come back to here. But I want to plan for the scenario where we do get a rejection from this area and get a significant retrace. I think this area is my main area of interest. Alright, I think that just about does it. I pretty much just want to cover the important stuff and, some of the lower time frame trades that I'm looking at currently. So, thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like on the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all of the support, and I'll see you all in the next video.